Welcome to the Jay Kim Show, Hong Kong's first dedicated podcast on investing in Asia. Join us as we survey the land and discover the greatest companies and most profitable investment opportunities in Asia. If this is your first time listening, thank you for stopping by. This podcast is produced every week with the goal of providing actionable insights to you, the listener, with every single episode. And now, on to the show.
We're going to take a break from our 500 Startups Alibaba mini-series this week for a special feature episode on women in tech. This week is Rise Week here in Hong Kong, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with Rise, it is a huge, if not the largest, tech conference here in Asia. There are thousands and thousands of startup founders, investors, entrepreneurs that all gather into the city of Hong Kong for the conference to listen to great speakers and to participate in a lot of the ancillary events that happen all around the city. Little shameless plug here for myself. I am hosting a Startup Grind panel called How to Fund Your Startup. And that's going to be on Wednesday, July 11th at 6:30 p.m. So head on over to the startupgrind.com website and you can click on Hong Kong and you'll see exactly where that is and who the special guests that I have flying in from overseas are for this panel. Now, back to this week's episode. So we're doing something a little bit special, and we're working directly with Web Summit and their content marketing team. We have a special episode focusing on women in tech, as I mentioned earlier. I have two guests for you this week. The first is Anna O'Hare, who is the Director of Content Marketing at Web Summit. And then we have Gillian Tans, the CEO of Booking.com, which, as you guys know, is one of the largest online travel booking companies in the world. So we're very honored to have both of them on, and I hope you enjoy my conversation with them and discussion on women in tech. Let's get on to the show.
All right. Hey, guys. This week we have Anna and Gillian, and we are doing a special feature on women in tech. And this is during the week of Rise for July 2018. It's an exciting week. We have thousands of people, entrepreneurs and startup founders and investors from all over the world coming to Hong Kong. And so it's a very special time, near and dear to my heart, because I've been to every single one of them since they started here. And so we have a very, very good and lucky, fortunate opportunity to interview two guests today. And so Anna and Gillian, welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have both of you.
Thanks so much, Jay. Great to be here.
Thank you.
So I'd like to start off with just a quick introduction, a background introduction, and maybe Anna, you can start and maybe give us a little bit of overview of the conference and such, and then we can move to Gillian, and you can obviously give us some of your professional background as well.
Great. So hi guys, I'm Anna and I'm a content marketing director at Web Summit. So Rise comes from the company behind Web Summit, the event that started back in 2010. And it's been pretty crazy time for me there. I've been there for now about 3.5 years. So I was lucky enough to be at the first iteration of Rise back in 2015. So back then, I think it was only about 1,000 attendees. And now this July, we're looking at welcoming 15,000 to Hong Kong, which is just amazing. So, it all kind of it started with Web Summit about 7 years ago, and it's really become so much more than a tech conference now. One of my kind of, working in the media marketing space, one of my kind of favorite quotes that describes the event is where the future goes to be born. And I think that really sums it up really nicely. So we're so excited to obviously be working with Booking.com again at Rise. We partnered with them last year as well, which I guess we'll talk about a little bit later. But especially with Gillian and kind of working with them really closely on our Women in Tech initiative. So yeah, it's great to be here.
It's very exciting, and the background of Web Summit is just incredible. I mean, it's my understanding that it was basically Patty and a handful of people that just started it, and it wasn't necessarily a large organization funding it or anything behind it. It just kind of grew virally. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a kind of like a really nice Irish success story as well. I think we were speaking just now, but everyone's kind of really surprised that there's, this little company. We're about, I think, 180 employees now in Ireland running these conferences around the world. And Paddy started it like 7 years ago from his couch. And it's so funny hearing him talk about what it was like. And, when we're getting to the stage, we're inviting these amazing speakers. Like this year, we've got some amazing names joining us. And it's just, it's quite humbling, I suppose, as well, to have been with the company for so long, to kind of see it on its journey.
Absolutely fantastic. So thanks for the intro. Gillian, maybe you could give us a little bit of introduction to yourself. I mean, obviously one of the most successful women in tech today and a CEO of a large corporation. Please give us some of your background and share with the audience.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. So I have a background in the hospitality industry. So very early on, already realized how complicated it was to bring customers from all over the world into properties. So when the internet came, I got really fascinated as to how this could actually improve finding and booking and accommodation. And so in 2002, I decided to join the startup called Bookings.nl at that time, because I really believe I got fascinated by how this could change this problem. And I've been with the company since. So I've seen this company grow from a few people to now we have over 17,000 people working for Booking, from a few properties to now we have over 1.7 million properties listed on Booking. Basically Booking has grown into one of the largest e-commerce companies in the world. And if you think about how international Booking is, we operate in over 230 countries and territories. We have 200 offices in 70 countries. So, and our mission is to empower people to experience the world. And you also see in that sense, Booking evolving from hotels into 30 categories, which we offer to customers today, into offering more and more services in travel.
That's fantastic.
And I always say, talking about the Web Summit, that I wish when we were a startup that we would have Web Summits at that time, because I think it's very helpful to companies that are getting started.
That's actually true, and so I actually it's always hats off to sort of the Web 1.0 type companies that have actually survived and made it and thrived into now very, very mature companies. And I mean, look, being an entrepreneur, building a company is always hard, regardless. But it's easy. I feel like it's quite easy. It's quite a bit easier now because of just the tools that are available, and social media and the internet and this sort of thing that. It's easier to scale up now. So Anna, maybe we can talk. You can talk us a little bit about through the Women in Tech initiative. It's obviously a very important subject, especially at this point in time in history. I think it's something that is very poignant. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the initiative, how it was, how did you come up with this, and what are you doing from sort of a conference standpoint to promote this?
Absolutely. So it kind of all launched in 2015, and we kind of labeled it our Commitment to Change program. And it started as just trying to increase female participation at all of our events. So like from a personal standpoint, I'm a woman, I'm working in tech, and I'm working for a startup conference. And I've certainly over the years been acutely aware that female participation in the tech sector, it just continues to be a significant issue. We've obviously managed to come some way. I think it's not as exclusive as it used to be, but we still have an awful long way to go. So we're in the third year now, and I think it's just over 45,000 tickets that we've issued to female attendees across the globe, and it's been amazing just to kind of see it come the whole way through, and to even meet some of the amazing women that kind of decide to come and take a chance and apply for the tickets and come to the event. And it's kind of, for me, I think what's great is looking at the data to kind of put it in context. I think the average for tech industry events, the female to male ratio is usually about 20% speakers. So last year and for the previous 2 years, our male to female gender ratio for attendees was 42 to 58. And then the percentage of women speakers rose to over 35% across all of our stages last year, which it's definitely not equal, but we kind of really hope that it's a small step in the right direction. And yeah, I mean, it's exciting to kind of see that progress and hear from all these incredible women speakers, whether they're a speaker or investor or even a startup, or a marketing manager sitting in an office in New York and kind of, putting themselves out there and coming along to the event.
what specifically at the conferences? So maybe we can use Rise as sort of an example. What are some of the specific, is there a special stage? What are some of the specific initiatives specific to Rise that allows you to sort of get that ratio up of both speakers and attendees?
Definitely. So I think for my team, like from the marketing standpoint, one of the most kind of important parts of this is our Facebook community. So we're just over 10,000 in our Facebook community, and like we're kind of actively involved in that every day. That's something that we're able to kind of test ideas out with, so we can talk directly to our community and say, right, you've got a ticket, you're coming along to the event, what do you want, or what would help you? And a lot of the time, the feedback is that they just want to meet other women, or they want to meet someone that they can be inspired by. And it's very like, you don't really think I'm in the conference industry, so it kind of, I forget it sometimes, but it can be quite daunting, going along to an event and not knowing anyone and taking the time off work and having to, justify it to your boss or whatever it is. So we really try and partner with companies like booking.com on the initiative and think, okay, how can we introduce women to each other? So one of the main things last year at Web Summit was our Mentor Hours program. So that was where, women got to, and startups in general, got to book in kind of pre-scheduled 15-minute meetings and get advice and kind of find a mentor. And Gillian herself was a mentor, which is kind of insane when you think about it. You turn up and you're able to kind of chat and get advice from someone who's done it all before.
That's absolutely incredible.
Which, yeah, it's great.
It sounds like these initiatives are actually working and gaining very good traction, because the data is basically proof of concept. So thank you for sharing that. Now, Gillian, on your side, as someone that was sort of has been a women leader in tech for most of your career, how have you sort of seen the tech industry and just corporate the corporate world in general? How has it evolved? Obviously there's still a lot of shortcomings that the industry has, but I'm sure it's getting better because there's more sort of places that people can, speak their, voice and initiatives such as Women in Tech and this sort of thing. Maybe you could walk us through your experience coming up in the early days and how it's sort of changed, hopefully for the better now.
Yeah. So I always say that if you think about my history in booking, I've always been very lucky because basically the culture that we've built at Booking has been a very diverse culture from the start. And that really has helped me. And I've had many mentors within Booking that really gave me the confidence to try lots of new things, to make mistakes and to learn from those. And that's how I grew within the business. And actually, if I think back, has enabled me to get into this position, which maybe when I started at Booking would never think that that's feasible. So that also shows that also mentorships are quite crucial, I think, in people's careers, and making sure that people feel confident in making these type of steps. I think if you think about women in technology, right, and what I've seen over time, I do think that it has become more transparent. So I think in the beginning, I think that the problem was there as well, but it was not so visible. I think today it's quite clear, right? There's lots of data around what is happening. So that's a good thing. At least we know how big the gap still is today. I do think, and that's also something that we see in data, that still today that there's a big gap. I think in Europe, you see only 30% of the 7 million people working in Europe's digital sector are basically working in technology roles. So it's still very much underrepresented.
You mentioned coming up and the culture at Booking.com. So currently at Booking.com, what are some of the initiatives that you have within your organization that you offer sort of in-house mentorship or even external mentorship type programs for women that are aspiring to be involved in the technology industry?
Yeah, so we've done lots of initiatives internally, but we also learned that we need also help externally. And so internally, I think what has helped us a lot is looking very good at data, right? To truly understand what is happening. And you will learn that there's very small things that you can change, which will actually improve, right? To bring more women in technical roles, even in your recruitment processes, promotional processes. So that's something that booking and every time we'll go through again to make sure there's no pay gap and these type of activities. Then we do mentorship programs internally and also as what has been clear together with the Web Summit and other conferences externally as well. And but we should also realize that the biggest problem sits, I think, with girls in age 12 to 17, because you see that's when we have the biggest drop off because they don't make choices in a certain type of study.
Right.
And that's also why Booking has decided to sponsor scholarships. And we do that together with Oxford and Delft. And we give away scholarships for these type of studies to women. So this is something that we've done. And then we do the Tech Playmaker Awards because we've also learned that it's very important that there's role models and that women see these role models as well. So we have the Tech Playmaker Awards internally, but we also do it externally, really to showcase women that have changed industries and companies. And that is something that we started off last year. This year we had the first Tech Playmaker Awards. And that's something that we are continuing to do. So there's lots of investments we're doing both internally, but also outside of Booking.com. Also because we're a leading technology company coming out of Europe. So we also take it very seriously that we need to play a big role in this topic.
Yeah, that's absolutely important. I mean, Gillian, you bring up a good point. I mean, a lot of people are much more focused on sort of the here and now. And you brought up a good point about sort of the early years when a young woman is developing, the choices she makes of what to study and what sort of career path to prove. That essentially is the seed that gets planted that will drive her career in the future. And it's sort of breaking down those barriers and traditional silos that is all relevant, absolutely. And so I think it's very important, and it's great that you guys are out there doing this sort of thing. I also think that one of the issues that I see being in this part of the region is there's a lot of cultural nuances here in Asia, and that I'm Asian, but I'm from the West. I'm from America. And so I've lived here since 2005, and when I moved here, I noticed certain things, and so I think that Asia does have a lot of room for improvement as well when it comes to encouraging sort of women in the workplace and empowering women to take more leadership roles. So as far as this is a general question for both of you, Anna and Gillian, what would you say is sort of the number one issue that might not be discussed or is not being talked about right now within, whether it be large organizations or maybe startups? I mean, is there anything that you guys can pinpoint and say, hey, look, if people just did this or talked about this more, it would dramatically change or improve sort of the struggles that maybe some women in tech have?
I think for me, the whole kind of dialogue around things getting better with time, and talking about women and how many women are working in your company and the ratio. And I think that saying things will get better with time hasn't really proved itself as a strategy. And I think going back to what Gillian mentioned about just looking at the data, a stat that really stands out for me is that there's still only 5% of the Fortune 500 that have female CEOs. And I think in 1995, we were at about 0%. So we clearly haven't made that much progress. Like, systemic bias is clearly a huge problem. And I think, it's simple. We had Sarah Fryer of Square speak at our event last week in Dublin. And she put it quite nicely, where she just said, if people ask her for advice and how can our companies do better, and startups were coming up to her saying, what's the secret? And she was saying, like, why don't you just recognize that diversity is essential? Like, there's so much research out there saying that by having a more diverse leadership team, or having, females on your board or on your leadership team, your company will do better. And your company will think more, it'll be more innovative, and all these different advantages. So it's really just kind of saying time's up, and for companies to start taking note of this. Like Booking.com have so many different initiatives that they're working on, and instead of kind of being shy about it, maybe it's time now to take a stand on something. If your company's 80% male, maybe just look to only hire women. Maybe that might seem a little bit aggressive, but I think it's like, I think at this point something needs to be done, and kind of instead of kind of saying, it'll get better, it takes time.
Right. Absolutely. Gillian, any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first step is, if you think about women in leadership roles, it's very difficult, I think, if we only try to fix that problem on the level itself, because there's not enough women to choose from, right? So we need to really solve this problem bottom up, which also means that companies need to take ownership over it, because everybody looks at governments, but I think, how can governments solve a bottom up problem, right? So it sits in basically the development of women, right, within companies from the lowest level, right, and making sure that women make it up to the top. And for me, it's quite crucial that companies now really start to make this part of their values, right? I think if every company includes this in their values, I think that's a big step. And I think because then it's in your values, so then you need to basically also report on your values. You will check if everything is happening according to your values. You will evaluate managers to see if they act according to the values, etc. So then I think you can really drive a cultural change, which in my opinion is what needs to happen. So this will be something that I always push for and talk about. And it's hard work, right? Companies think they do one thing and then they think that, oh, I've addressed the issue or I've done something. Well, it's hard work, and it sits everywhere, and it also means every year again you need to make sure that you look at data and see if where you can make improvements. And it won't change overnight, but I think if everybody will make these steps, then I think eventually we will make a change.
Definitely. That's I absolutely agree with that. I mean, it's not a one and done type thing. It's a you have to keep at it, and an organization, it moves like a super tanker. So it's a very slow, gradual move, but within time and without dropping the ball, if you keep after it, then I think that real change can be enacted. So Anna, let's jump quickly back to Rise. I don't know if you have this off the top of your head, but do you actually know like how many female speakers do you guys have for this specific conference? Or sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
No, don't worry. So we always announce our figures, and that means every type of attendee. So investors, speakers, attendees, and kind of all the different places they're coming from
great.
on the first day of the event. So stay tuned for that. I will say that we do still have some Women in Tech tickets available. They're all gone, unfortunately, for Web Summit, but we do have some left. There's been quite a high uptake, which is great to see, especially, us being an Irish conference, and we're still trying to figure out this whole Asian market. So the URL is just riseconf.com/women in tech, and you can apply. And I really would encourage anyone listening that is kind of interested in this space to kind of come along. And as well, like, don't feel daunted by it. We have an app, we have the Facebook group I mentioned about. I'll be there as well, and we can go and grab coffee. So just, it would really be great to see as many people, especially from Hong Kong, there as we can.
Okay, so just to clarify, if you go to riseconf.com/women in tech, this is you have basically a special, I guess, is a special program if you want to apply to be, if you're a female founder or investor?
Exactly. And I mean, you don't necessarily have to be, a female founder and investor. You could be working, as I said, it's not really just about tech anymore. We've got lots of different conferences there. Whether you're in marketing, whether you're in fintech, finance, whatever it is, apply or just reach out to me either at anna@websummit.com, and we can sort something out.
Oh, fantastic! And you have like you have allocated a special allotment of tickets specifically for women in tech. Is that right?
Exactly. So for Rise, we've 4,000 tickets that were just for women in tech. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so for all the women listening in that are interested in this, please head on over to riseconf.com. We'll have it all linked up in the show notes. And Gillian, you will be also attending Rise. Is that correct?
No, I'll be attending the Web Summit in Lisbon.
The Web Summit. Okay, right. Is there anything that, as far as on your sort of runway in 2018 or maybe in 2019, anything that you are excited about that you're working on directly at booking.com that you'd want to share with our listeners? And that this could be for the company itself or specifically for your sort of initiatives helping women in tech?
Yeah, so I spoke a lot about women in tech, so maybe it's nice to speak a little bit more about booking.com, and because there's also a lot happening in our business, and especially the work you see that we're doing in homes. So we have 5 million homes, apartments, and other unique places to stay, which we are expanding all over the world. And then if you think about booking and the products that we're innovating into, you see we're more and more thinking about the end-to-end trip of customers. So you will see now that Booking is offering in destinations transportation or experiences. So what to do, right, once you arrive. And we've learned a lot through customer data that customers still need a lot of help when they go on their trips. So you'll see a lot of innovation happening in this part of our business. And then technology as well. So we have the Booking Assistant, which is a bot we have running to make sure that we give customers answers faster. So in travel, there's still a lot of questions that customers have. It's not all that straightforward as when you would order a book online. So it's very important that we provide technology for customers, which gives them that answers really quickly. And that bot is already answering 30% of questions in the English language, which we are expanding. And then also with something that Booking is very active in is it's called the Booking Booster, which is basically the work we're doing in sustainable tourism. Our mission is to empower people to experience the world, but we also find it very important to make sure that the world keeps being worthwhile to be explored. So we basically help proactively startups that are active in sustainable tourism with funding and with knowledge. And this is also something that Booking.com is very active in. And that also connects us a lot to the startup world as such, which is a nice connection because it's connected to our mission and to our business.
Wow, that's very exciting. And just quickly, are you guys involved with any of the online booking and travel within the region here, within China, perhaps?
Yeah, so Booking.com, of course, is a brand that is operating out of Asia and China ourselves as well. And we have a very close cooperation with Ctrip in China.
Yes.
So this is a company that we operate very closely with.
That's a very good strategic alignment because obviously they're the largest from out of China. So, well, fantastic. Thank you both for your time. I just have a couple questions left as we look to wrap up here. And I would like Anna and Gillian, if you guys could both each answer this question. As both female entrepreneurs successful in both of your fields and what you do, what advice, if you could have one piece of advice for aspiring female entrepreneurs coming up within tech or within a corporate or just wanting to get out there and maybe rise to a position of power within a corporation, what would that one piece of advice be?
Yeah, so for me, I think what I always find the most valuable advice for women is to not be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and to basically not be afraid to make mistakes. And so this is something that I always say because that's how you will learn faster. And I think especially for female entrepreneurs, this is super important. And I always say also make sure that you don't try to do everything yourself. Make sure that you get the right people around you. And there's one thing I always say in booking as well is don't let failures get into your heart and successes into your head, which has helped me throughout my career in booking. And it reminds you to stay humble.
Very good advice. Very good advice. Thank you, Gillian. Anna?
Yeah, I love that. I think it all comes down to, what Gillian said, like risk taking and comfort rarely coexist. And I think for me, throughout my career, I've always, when I've been faced with, maybe a new job opportunity or promotion, I think, I'm not ready just yet, but if I just do this one other thing, then I'll feel ready. And I think you realize that you may never feel ready. So just try and, find the courage and welcome change. And I think, again, it goes back to what we spoke about finding a mentor. So, whatever company you're in, when you look up and, look at the leadership team, you need someone that you can aspire to. And, they don't, your role model doesn't necessarily need to perfectly fit who you are. But I think you can pull pieces from their experience to maybe make that part of your journey as well.
Fantastic. Well, Anna, Gillian, thank you both so much for your time. It's been great to hear about both of what you guys are working on. We are super excited for Rise this week, and Anna and Gillian, if you guys could both just quickly say where is the best place that our audience can find you, follow you, or learn more about what you guys do.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter. It's just Anna O'Hare. And you can also follow Web Summit and Rise's accounts there. And as I said, the URL is risecomp.com/women in tech. And hopefully I'll see some of you guys there.
Awesome. And Gillian?
Yeah, I post regularly on LinkedIn and on Facebook as well. Twitter, I think you have to be always on. That for me is more challenging. But these two channels I use, so that's where people can read more.
Fantastic. We will get that all linked up. Thanks once again, Anna and Gillian, for your time, and we really appreciate it. And we wish you both the best of luck.
Thank you so much, guys.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much.
Brilliant. Bye. Take care, guys. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. All the show notes and links can be found over at jkimshow.com. Come back often and make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Don't forget to join us next week for another exciting episode of The J. Kim Show. I'd love to hear your comments. You can find me on Twitter at jkimmer, JAYKIMMER. See you guys next week. This podcast is brought to you by Hack Your Fitness, the high achiever's guide to getting ripped in under 3 hours a week. If you're anything like me, you're probably working a full-time job or jobs and trying to find time to balance family life, social life, and last but not least, fitness. Look, I get it. I'm a full-time investor and entrepreneur myself, and father of two. So how am I able to stay fit year-round without spending hours and hours in the gym killing myself on the cardio machine? After struggling for the last 15 years trying every workout and diet under the sun, I finally designed a system that allows me to achieve and maintain single-digit body fat for life in under 3 hours a week. Cardio not required. Head on over to hackyour.fitness and download my free 13-page guide that teaches you the simple science behind efficient fitness and smart nutrition and gives you everything you need to know to finally take control of your life. That's hackyour.fitness.